I didn't think anything would happen that Tuesday afternoon when I got home. I was thinking about my long workday. My name is Alex. I'm 28 and I still live with my parents. I'm saving money to live on my own. My name is Alex. I'm 28 and I still live with my parents. It's not ideal, but it has its perks. For example, I don't have to worry about cooking or laundry. As I got out of my car, the warm summer air hit me. The sun was starting to set, and long shadows were being cast on the neatly trimmed lawn. I could hear distant laughter coming from backyard. It was probably my stepmom Olivia playing with our golden retriever Maximum. Olivia had been part of our family for about 5 years. She was younger than my dad, in her early 40s, and had brought a vibrancy to our home that had been missing since my mom passed away. At first, I was not fond of her presence, but over time, I'd grown to appreciate her warmth and kindness. I walked around the side of the house, loosening my tie as I went. I stopped in my tracks when I saw Olivia sitting cross-legged on the grass. At first, I didn't like her being around, but over time I started to like how warm and kind she was. I walked around the side of the house, loosening my tie as I went. I stopped when I saw Olivia sitting cross-legged on the grass. Her light blonde hair was falling down her back in loose waves. She was wearing a light sundress that showed off her curves in a new way. Max was running around her, his tail wagging like crazy, as he dropped her while she was lying on the grass. Her light-colored hair was down over her back. She was wearing a short, loose sundress that showed her curves in a way I'd never noticed before. Max was running around her, his tail wagging, and he dropped a worn tennis ball at her feet. "Come on, Maximum. Go get it." Olivia laughed, throwing the ball across the yard. Her laughter was like music, free and easy, and it made me feel something inside. I stood there, amazed, watching her play with Maximum. She moved with a graceful ease, and she looked so happy that I couldn't take my eyes off her. Max came back with the ball. Olivia glanced up and saw me. Her face lit up with a smile that made my heart skip a beat. "Alex, you're home early," she called out, waving me over. I felt nervous. As I got closer, which was strange because I usually felt comfortable around her. "Hey, Olivia," I said, my voice sounding a little nervous. "I thought I'd leave work a bit early today." She patted the grass next to her, inviting me to sit. "Well, I'm glad you did come join us. Max has a lot of energy today." I hesitated for a moment before sitting down on the grass next to her. The scent of her perfume, which smelled like flowers and was light, made me feel a little dizzy. Max jumped over, dropping the ball between us, and looked at me expectantly. Olivia laughed again, and the sound made me shiver. "I think he wants you to throw the ball this time," she said, her eyes twinkling with amusement. I picked up the ball and grimaced slightly at the dog slobber coating it. "Max, I'm ready to throw," I said, winding up. The ball soared across the yard, with Max hot on its heels. As we sat there taking turns throwing the ball for Max, I found myself hyper-aware of Olivia's presence beside me. Every accidental brush of her arm against mine sent electricity coursing through me. I looked at Olivia through my body when I thought she wasn't looking. I noticed the sunlight on her hair, the curve of her neck, and the soft rise and fall of her chest as she breathed. What was happening to me? This was Olivia, my stepmom. I'd known her for years. I'd never thought of her as anything other than my father's wife, but suddenly, in this moment, it was as if I was seeing her for the first time. I was both thrilled and terrified. "You seem distracted," Olivia said softly, breaking into my thoughts. "Long day?" "At work," I blinked, realizing I'd been staring. Yeah," I mumbled, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. I was thinking about a lot of things. She tilted her head, studying me with her piercing blue eyes. "Do you want to talk about it?" I shook my head. I wasn't sure I wanted to talk. How could I explain what I was feeling? These sudden, confusing emotions were overwhelming me. Olivia reached out, placing her hand on my arm. Her touch was gentle and comforting, but it sent a jolt through me that was anything but familial. You know, you can always talk. She said something to me, her voice low and personal. I nodded and swallowed, and I said, "Thanks, Olivia." We sat in silence for a while. The only sounds were the panting of Max, who was lying down between us. He was tired from playing. The sun was going down, painting the sky in bright orange and pink. It was a beautiful evening, but I didn't notice the sunset. I was thinking about the woman next to me and all the feelings I had because of her as the light began to fade. Olivia stretched. She arched her back, making my mouth go dry. "We should probably head inside," she said, brushing grass off her dress. "I need to start dinner soon." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. We both stood up, and for a moment, we were standing close. I could feel the warmth radiating from her body. Her eyes met mine, and I saw something flicker in her gaze. It made my heart race. But then the moment passed, and Olivia was turning towards the house. She called over her shoulder, already a few steps ahead. I took a deep breath. I tried to calm myself. I said, "Yeah, I'm right behind you," as I followed Olivia into the house. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between us. The comfortable familiarity we'd shared for years had been replaced by a sense of tension, which was both exciting and scary. I watched as she moved around the kitchen, getting ready for dinner. Her movements were graceful and efficient, and I found myself mesmerized by the simplest action, the way she reached for a pan, or how she tucked I felt a strand of hair behind my ear. "Alex," her voice made me stop thinking. "Would you mind setting the table?" I said yes. I was glad to do something and stop thinking about the confusing thoughts in my head. I put out plates and cutlery. I wondered if I was imagining this new tension between us, or if Olivia felt it too. The way she looked at me in the backyard, the touch on my arm, were these signs of something more, or just things I imagined? I shook. I was trying to stop myself from thinking too many dangerous thoughts. This was Olivia, my stepmom. Whatever I thought I was feeling, it couldn't, and shouldn't, go any further. But as I glanced over at her and caught her eye across the kitchen, I knew that this was far from over. Something had awakened inside me, something that wouldn't easily go back to sleep. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of stolen glances and accidental touches. Every time Olivia's hand brushed against mine as she passed me a dish, every time our eyes met across the dinner table, I felt that same electric charge. It was frustrating. I felt her presence all the time. After dinner, as I helped her clean the kitchen, I felt too small and too close to her. We moved around each other, and I felt like we were dancing. The air between us was full of unspoken tension. "I think I'm going to turn in early." I finally said, "I'm going to go to bed. I can't take this tension any longer. I got an early start tomorrow." Olivia nodded and smiled a little. I climbed the stairs to my room. I could feel her eyes on me. I turned. At the top of the stairs, I looked at Olivia one last time before going into my room. That night, I thought about Olivia a lot. I thought about the way she looked in her sundress, the sound of her laughter, and the feeling of her hand on my arm. I knew it would be a long time before I could sleep. I didn't know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything. This journey was about discovery, desire, and forbidden love. It would test the boundaries of everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and my own heart. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the events of the afternoon, analyzing every glance, every touch, every word exchanged between Olivia and me. The rational part of my brain tried to dismiss these thoughts, reminding me of the taboo nature of my feelings, but my heart was singing a different tune. I must have dozed off eventually, because I woke with a start when the first rays of dawn peeked through my curtains. My dreams had been vivid, filled with images of Olivia that made my cheeks burn with embarrassment. I was still feeling groggy, so I went downstairs to the shop. I hoped that a strong cup of coffee would help me think. When I entered the kitchen, I stopped suddenly. Olivia was there, her back to me, humming to herself. She was wearing a silk robe that made her look sexy. I was still feeling groggy, so I went downstairs to get a strong cup of coffee to wake me up. When I entered the kitchen, I was surprised to see Olivia. She was standing at the counter, humming to herself. She was wearing a silk robe that made her look even more attractive, and her hair was messy. "Good morning, Alex," she said, turning to face me with a warm smile. "You're up early." I nodded, not sure if I could speak. She handed me a cup of coffee, and her fingers touched mine as I took it. That simple touch made me feel good. Her hair was messy, and she was wearing a robe. "Good morning, Alex," she said, smiling at me. "You're up early today." I nodded, not sure if I should speak. She gave me a coffee mug, and her fingers touched mine when I took it. "You didn't sleep well?" she asked, looking at me with concern. "No," I said, taking a sip of coffee to hide my nervousness. Olivia leaned against the counter, and I saw a glimpse of her collarbone. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice soft. "I'm fine," I said, my heart pounding. "Just work stuff." She raised an eyebrow, not believing me. "Alex, you know you can talk to me about anything. I'm here for you." Her voice was sincere, and her eyes showed concern. I couldn't stop myself. I said, "It's you, Olivia. You're what's distracting me." Her eyes widened in surprise. For a moment, I thought I'd made a terrible mistake, but then her voice and eyes showed that she was sincere. "It's you, Olivia. You're what's distracting me." Her eyes widened in surprise. I thought I had made a mistake, but then I saw something else in her gaze. She was flicking her eyes at me, and her voice was barely above a whisper. "What are you saying?" I asked, setting my coffee mug down. My hand shook as I spoke. "I don't know," I admitted. "I just heard you in the backyard. I saw you differently, and now I can't stop thinking about you." Olivia was silent for a long moment, her eyes never leaving mine. Then, slowly, she reached out and took my hand. "Oh, Alex," she said softly. I felt it too, for longer than I care to. Olivia's words hurt my heart, and I felt shocked by what they meant. "But what about Dad? This is wrong, isn't it?" Olivia sighed and said, "It's complicated." She admitted, "Your father and I haven't been getting along well for a while now, but that doesn't make this any less challenging." I nodded, understanding how serious this was. "So what should we do?" Instead of answering, Olivia stepped closer, her free hand coming up to cut my cheek, she whispered, but I knew I couldn't ignore these feelings anymore. Then she kissed me. Her lips felt soft and warm against mine. It was gentle at first, hesitant, but quickly grew more passionate as years of desire came rushing to the surface. I wrapped my arms around her waist, pulling her closer, and her fingers tangled in my hair. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless. "Wow," I managed to say. My head was spinning. Olivia laughed softly, resting her forehead was against mine. She agreed, but then I felt guilty. I asked her again, "What about Dad?" I felt the weight of our actions on my shoulders. Olivia sighed and stepped back a little bit, but she kept her hand in mine. "Your father has been having an affair," she admitted. Her voice sounded sad. "I had known for a while, but I didn't know how to tell you." I felt angry at my father, but then I felt relieved that our actions, Olivia and I, were in a new routine. On the surface, everything appeared normal. We went about our daily lives and interacted with my father as we always had. But beneath the surface, there was a current of electricity, a shared secret. "What about Dad?" I asked, my voice tinged with guilt. "Your father has been having an affair," Olivia admitted, her voice sad. "For months. I had known for a while, but I didn't know how to tell you." I felt angry towards my father, followed quickly by relief that our actions weren't as betrayal as I had initially thought. "I'm so sorry, Olivia," I said, squeezing her hand. She shook her head. "Don't be. It's not your fault. In a way, it's given me the courage to admit my feelings for you." We spent the next few hours talking, really talking, about everything. About her marriage to my father. About the feelings we'd both been harboring. About what this meant for our future. It was intense, emotional, and at times uncomfortable, but it felt necessary as the morning wore on. We decided to keep our feelings secret for now. We wanted to give ourselves time to figure things out before we told everyone. It wouldn't be easy, but we knew we had a strong connection. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and I settled into a new routine. On the surface, everything appeared normal. We went about our daily lives and interacted with my father as we always had. But beneath the surface, there was a current of electricity, a shared secret. We decided to keep our feelings secret for now. We wanted to give ourselves time to figure things out before we told everyone. It wouldn't be easy, but we knew we had a strong connection. Over the next few weeks, Olivia and I got used to our new routine. On the surface, everything appeared normal. We went about our daily lives and interacted with my father as we always had. But beneath the surface, there was a special connection between us. We found moments to be together, like when we touched each other's hands as we passed in the hallway or looked at each other across the dinner table. We also had quiet conversations late at night when my father was working late. Each of these moments was special and showed how close we were. One evening, about a month after our first kiss, we were alone in the house. My father was away on a business trip, but he said he would be back soon. Olivia and I both thought he was with someone else. We were always excited to be together, and we made the most of every moment. Sometimes, we would kiss in the hallway or look at each other in the dining room. We were very close, and it felt like we were always afraid that something would happen. One evening, about a month after we first kissed, we were alone in the house. My father was away on a business trip, but I thought he was with his mistress. Olivia and I didn't think about that. We just enjoyed being together. We were sitting on the couch, watching a movie, but we weren't paying much attention to the screen. I was lying next to her, and I felt her head on my shoulder. I felt like we were very close. Alex said, "Are you happy with this, with us?" I looked down at her, and I felt happy. Beautiful shows her true feelings. I've never been happier. I answered honestly, "Are you?" She smiled and touched my jaw with her fingers. She was very happy, but also scared. "What are we doing?" she whispered. "It's risky if your father found out." I kissed her to stop her from worrying. "We'll figure it out," I promised. Our kisses grew more passionate. I was surprised at how natural this felt, how right it was, even though our relationship was so different. Beautiful shows her true feelings. I'm happier than I've ever been. I answered honestly. "Are you her?" She smiled, reaching up to trace my jaw with her fingertips. She was incredibly happy, but also scared. "What are we doing?" she whispered. "It's risky if your father found out." I leaned down, silencing her worries with a gentle kiss. "We'll figure it out," I promised. Our kisses grew more passionate. I marveled at how natural this felt, how right despite the unconventional nature of our relationship. Being with Olivia felt like coming home. We made love for the first time that night right there on the living room couch. It was passionate, tender, and more intimate than anything I'd ever experienced. As we lay tangled together afterward, I knew with absolute certainty that I was in love with Olivia. The weeks turned into months, and our secret relationship deepened. We became experts at stolen moments and hidden glances. But as time went on, the strain of keeping our love a secret. Being with Olivia felt like coming home. We made love for the first time that night on the living room couch. It was passionate, tender, and more intimate than anything I'd ever experienced. As we lay tangled together afterward, I knew with absolute certainty that I was in love with Olivia. The weeks turned into months, and our secret relationship deepened. We became experts at stolen moments and hidden glances. But as time went on, the strain of keeping our love a secret began to wear on us both. It was Olivia who finally broached the subject one night as we lay in bed. Her head was pillowed on my chest, and "Alex," she said softly. I think it's time we told your father. I tense my hand, stilling where it had been stroking her hair. Are you sure? I asked, my voice tight with anxiety. She propped herself up on an elbow, looking down at me with those piercing blue eyes. I'm sure, she said firmly. I love you, Alex. I want to be with you openly, without hiding, and your father. He deserves to know the truth. I nodded slowly, knowing she was right but also feeling worried about the conversation. I agreed that we would tell them together the next day. We sat my father down and told him everything. His reaction was explosive, to say the least. There was yelling, accusations, and threats of disownment. It was painful and messy, but in the end, a strange calm settled over the house. My father had been looking for a way out of his marriage for months, while he was hurt and angry. He deserves to know the truth. I nodded slowly, knowing she was right, but dreading the conversation. Okay, I agreed. We'll tell them together. The next day, we sat my father down and told him everything. His reaction was explosive, to say the least. There was yelling, accusations, and threats of disownment. It was painful and messy, but in the end, a strange calm settled over the house. My father, it turned out, had been looking for a way out of his marriage for months. While he was hurt and angry about our relationship, he admitted that he was relieved to have everything out in the open. In the weeks that followed, our lives changed dramatically. Olivia moved out and filed for divorce. I found my own apartment, needing space from the family home and all its memories. It was a difficult time, full of awkward family dinners and intense conversations. But through it all, Olivia and I clung to each other. Our love grew stronger despite the disapproval of our family and the judgment of society. He said that he was happy to have everything out in the open. In the weeks that followed, our lives changed a lot. Olivia moved out and filed for divorce. I found my own apartment, needing space from the family home and all its memories. It was a difficult time, with awkward family dinners and intense conversations. But through it all, Olivia and I stayed close. Our love grew stronger even though our family and society did not approve of our relationship. We knew it wouldn't be easy, and that there would always be people who didn't understand or accept our relationship. But we were committed to making it work. Now, as I sit here writing this, it's been a year since we told everyone about our relationship. Olivia and I are living together in a small house on the outskirts of town. My relationship with my father is still strange, but we're working on it. He's even started dating someone new, which has helped ease some of the tension. Looking back, I never could have predicted the change in my life that happened that sunny afternoon in the backyard. But as I watch Olivia moving around our kitchen humming softly to herself, just like she did that fateful morning, I know I wouldn't change a thing. Our love may have started in an unconventional way and faced challenges that would have broken a weaker bond, but it's real, deep, and it's ours, and that's all that matters. As Olivia turns and catches my eye, her face lights up with that smile. I love you so much. No matter what happens in the future, I will always feel peaceful because that's what love is. We will always stand strong together, choose each other every day, and build a life filled with joy, understanding, and unwavering commitment. As I crossed the room to take her in my arms and kiss her deeply, I knew that this love,